Hi there, and welcome to my message today on strength and courage of a caregiver. Let me start by asking you this question. How many of you are now or has been a caregiver? I have been a primary caregiver. It's a tough role and responsibility each and every day. The endurance, the energy that it takes to care for someone as you watch them go through their health challenges. It's tough, isn't it? It could be your spouse, your kids, your parents, your best friends, your neighbor, your church members, your business partners, your sorority sisters, that person who have asked you to be there for them. It's still tough, isn't it? I am Deborah Washington Gould, and thank you for the privilege of your time to share this particular message on strength and courage of a caregiver. When I had to stand in the caregiver role of my late and beloved husband, Mr. Joseph Gould Jr., three things that showed up for me. And once I processed it, I was able to move forward and do what I need to do to stand by my man. You know, when something bad happens, you have three choices. One, you can either let it define you, two, let it destroy you, or three, let it strengthen you. And I chose, and I made the decision of number three, let it strengthen you. In your faith walk, and you prayed up, let go and let God. And you have to also not only give the praise report to family and friends and neighbors, but you have to be in a position to say, God gets the glory. Now, Joseph Gould Jr. was one of those kind and sweet, humorous, approachable, charismatic. He was intentional with his information he shared. He was impactful and an influence, a positive influence, and so inspiring, not only to Deborah and our relationship as husband and wife, but for anyone that Joe touched in the same space. He would show up as Mr. Positivity. Now, Joe was the type of person who would stress you out, but you didn't stress him out. So I had to make that decision a long time ago on our wonderful journey of being happily married for 45 years. Now, Joseph was age 68 and he left this earthly world very young, but God has a bigger purpose for him. And it would have been selfish for me with all the things I tried to give to him as a caregiver to try to hold him. And I have moments that I can sometimes have my own breakdown, but I have my greatest moments of only great experiences and thoughts when I think about him because he brought so much purpose and joy to Deborah Ann Washington Gould. So, Joseph, age 68, he was a tall gentleman, 6'7", and he weighed about 220 pounds. And Deborah, 5'5", and I'm not telling you my age or my weight. But I'm going somewhere with this as a caregiver, the things that you find yourself having to do in the course of a day. Joe was diagnosed 16 years ago with stage 2 multiple myeloma, a ferocious and incurable cancer of the blood plasma. We followed everything to the script over those 16 years of his cancer journey from MD Anderson, and then he finally was transitioned in 2016 to a local hospital here in New Orleans. And he started having some challenges in 2017. And by the top of 2018, it was this bully, this nasty cancer was really beating him up. By 2019, Joe was going through a lot in his health. And he tried not to let it shake his spirit. And he tried his absolute best. But on January 16, 2020, no more suffering, no more pain. The gates, the golden gates of heaven open up. And God has a new purpose. And so, as a caregiver, I can relate to anyone. And I am grateful and humble to anyone in my support system and family that created a space for me just to let go. Because they realized I needed that kind of support to stay strong. And so I appreciate that. Now, as I said earlier, I've told you Joe, height and age, but this is what I think most. And when you might have memories, this gentleman is the champion because that is the way he showed up every day. And being able to watch Joseph play full out in the business community, as a community activist, as a father, our adult son, Joseph III, and even as Pawpaw, as a grandfather. He and his friends that he grew up with, friends that he met in high school and college, and there's not an unkind word that anyone can ever say about this sweet, charismatic, and approachable man. He made a big difference while he was here on earth. I, as a caregiver, hope that I can share some things with those who are now standing in the shoes or has been that can probably reinforce what I'm saying. But I truly believe that the things that I hold on to as a caregiver is memories of pictures like this. November 8th, 1975, 45 years ago, we made a commitment to each other. And in your wedding vows, you hear the words, "To death do you part." And I tell you, in 2004, when Joe was diagnosed, it rocked our world. But in 2017, when the cancer, that nasty bully, came back and it was beating up on his body, to watch him, it took everything in me. You see, Joseph, this man here, Joseph Gould Jr., he had strength and courage. I never viewed myself as that person with strength and courage. Yes, reliable, dependable, determined, focused, resilient, resourceful, a go-to person. Yes, but I had to grow into strength and courage because I made that decision to stand by my man. And remember, when I shared the three choices to you, I picked number 3. Now the author is unknown, but I picked number 3. Let it strengthen you. And I pray for that every day. So God gets the glory. I want you to know that during our cancer journey and our experience in Joe in mid 2019, Joe asked me, he said, "Baby, I have this project. And I've been having this book idea for 3 years. And I want to get it out of my head, and I want to get it out of my heart. And I want to write a book. And I got the title already crafted. The finished product, the book, our newest release, Strength Through the Challenge." It was his vision It was on his bucket list. And of course, knowing Deborah Ann, he said, baby, with your project management skills, you know you like to write, your planning skills, your organization, and your impeccable focus and energy, I know we can get this done. And so he only asked once, and I was determined to make it happen. And again, God gets the glory. He said, no matter if I can write one word, one sentence, one paragraph, I know you will brilliantly finish it all the way through. And so I proceeded to work within my network who have always published our other 4 books. I shared the vision and the mission, and that we were on the timeline, and Joe wanted to get this book done. Financially, wasn't in a position to do it, but we made it happen anyhow. The book, of the 4 books that we have published together and co-authored, we've sold thousands of the other books. But this book here has been amazing. It was released in late January, and I can say within 120 days, the book, Strength Through the Challenge, we have already sold 1,000 copies. And I'm in reprint again. Because our support system, the awesomeness of people that knew Joe and know what Joe and Deborah stand for. And I have to humble myself when people say, Deborah, you and Joe was that power couple that other couples love to be in the same space with you guys. So it didn't blow my head up, but I just had to share that with you, that get to receive that kind of feedback. We had folks in print media, from the Louisiana Weekly to the Tribune, from the Vincent Sylvain writing pieces. They wanted to publish something to have others in memory remember Joe as that kind of guy, Mr. Positivity. And Joe wanted to write this book, Strength Through the Challenge, to be able to talk about his mentoring and what it was like to be able to give of himself and not be self-absorbed, but make time to mentor other young future leaders. And so he began to collaborate with a good friend who was co-founder of Silverback Society. I believe to this day that was one of the most profound experience for Joseph that he was able to do. I would say approximately 5 years. He was invited into several schools, and so I'm grateful to my good friends, Lloyd Dennis and his boo, his Ann Dennis. I'm just grateful to the two of them. And Lloyd, I want to just tip my hat off to you. You are just that kind of amazing guy like Joe. And so, but another dear friend of ours, he is the owner of NOLA TV, Mr. Lawrence Martin. Now this man showed up and he asked me to write a story in the Boulevard magazine. I was shocked, I was elated, I was so enthusiastic. I said, when and where do you need me to show up? And I'm thinking, boy, I've been wearing such a heavy load as caregiver. It was like an inspirational dose. And it was just the energy that I needed. I said, of course. To my surprise, after the interview, pages 21 through 26, he said, you know why I was inspired to make this request, Deborah? After reading the book, Strength Through the Challenge, and what we're going through with this pandemic, there was a strong correlation between the word strength and courage. The strength that both you and Joe endure every day as a power couple on his health, and the courage that he found as well as yourself. I see a contrast between folks that will emerge in our community with the kind of strength and courage that we would get through this COVID-19. And after it was finished, Lawrence's masterpiece, after the interview and putting it all together, he blessed me to be on the cover of the Boulevard magazine, volume 32, that was going to be featured through June, July, and August. I will forever be grateful. So, as a caregiver, this experience is not always so tough and so overwhelming. We have to slow down to appreciate the gift from God. How people, your support system, that support system of family and friends and church members and your sorority sister, Alpha, Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. I will forever love Rho Pi Omega Chapter. And I tell you, I have the best neighbors in the city of New Orleans. And so it was just wonderful. And I honor and love these two people to pieces. My brother Tyrone, the seventh of my brothers, and his wife Tereska Washington. They had my back. Talk about an amazing support system. They showed up and showed out. If I needed to cry, they were there. One phone call, one text, within a matter of minutes. If I needed them, they were there at the hospital to help me with Joe's physical therapy and his clinic. Now, Joe is 6'7", and I'm 5'5". And Joe weighed about 220 pounds. In the last 6 months, he was wheelchair bound. And I just couldn't handle him. I did the things I need to do inside the house, but helping him in his wheelchair, he was like dead weight. His oldest brother, who was 6'9", stepped up. He would take care of one day of his physical therapy, and I would take care of Thursday, twice a week. Every Friday, Joe had his infusion for his chemo. My sister-in-law worked with me, Tereska. Every other Friday, I would take a Friday. She would take the odd Fridays. I had the even. She had my back. And when I couldn't do it because we both were entrepreneurs, I had to manage Joe's business, Joe Grew Advertising Specialty, as well as my business in management consulting and training, Deborah Gould and Associate Inc. And there was so many church members who helped. But I have to say this one particular church member, Mr. Lewis Collins, he's actively involved in Franklin Avenue Baptist Church. Lewis was there no matter what. Didn't matter if I needed him to take over my Thursday with physical therapy or one of the Fridays if I couldn't make it because I had to work, to do training or do executive coaching or facilitating. Like my brother Tyrone, Lewis and his wife Robin became those individuals. In the caregiver role, you know as well as I know, you can't do it all. I can do a lot of things, but I cannot do everything. And my support system showed up. My sorority sisters are, the word amazing is the word. And I can't leave out one of my small business group that has been so helpful, so meaningful in my life, the Collaborative. I tell you, these people were so helpful, whether it was financial, whether it was time, whether it was boost, inshore, if I needed diapers, I need bed padding, bringing me groceries, bringing me dinner. Look, you've had a long day at the hospital. We're going to stop and pick up something, whether it's the Whole Food Company or one of the local supermarkets, or I cooked a lot, so I'm bringing dinner for you and Joe. It was just amazing. So you don't do this hard work that seems tough and overwhelming by yourself. Some of the things I would like to leave with our caregivers and my listening audience to keep in mind, just some lessons learned. You got to lean on family and friends. You got to let go of the pride and ego and ask for help. Have a support system. People may not show up every day, but they show up when they really need you. They don't show up when you want it done your way. They show up when you really need them. And you got to say thank you. Be grateful. Be grateful that God put in you to put good stuff in the universe that people will show up and help Joseph and Deborah Gould. Be humble. Humility really got me down the road because people were there. From my pastor, Fred Luter, people showed up. Other church member who was on the same pew wanted to stand in the gap to help. So many people to be thankful for. Thankful for the medical team, MD Anderson. It was just amazing, this kind of support. It was so wonderful from the nurses, the doctors. It made all the difference in the world. So I'm going to leave you with those little tidbits about when you have a praise report, it's all about the power of prayer. The power of prayer. And so just know that God is able to help you in any way where you stand as a caregiver. To God be the glory. He gets the glory. I am Deborah Washington Gould. Please visit my website at www.gouldassociates.com and call me at 504-242, 504-244-6576. Thank you for the privilege of your time. Thank you for the privilege of your time. I am Deborah Washington Gould. Please visit my website at www.gouldassociates.com and my phone number 504-244-6576. Make yourself a great day on purpose. You're listening to Deborah Washington Gould, President and CEO of Deborah Gould and Associates, Inc. Take care.